Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for joining me again on another Thursday at 4 p.m. UK time, 11 a.m. US time. I'm Greg Granger, and this is lesson number 4. But you know what? Before we get started, let's get this disclaimer out the way. You would think I should know this by heart, but I don't. I'm going to read it and make sure I don't make any mistakes. If you are under 18, tell your parents you are doing this session. Feel free to ask questions and make comments, but stay safe online by just using your first name. Don't give out your contact details, and I hope you enjoy today's session. Fantastic. Alrighty. I really do want you guys to leave comments. Make some comments for me. Give me some suggestions. I hope you've been having a great time, and hope you've been learning something. We are doing this beginning drum slash percussion slash rhythm lessons. So you know me, I like to stair step and tag on to each lesson. Today's lesson, we're going to make a little jump. It's not going to be as much playing, but we are going to do some playing because it just wouldn't be me if we didn't play. As a matter of fact, I want to introduce you to my new kit here. See, this is my pot right here. It's pot number 1. Here's an old pan number 2. Here's a book number 3, and here's a nice bucket. Remember, I told you guys, grab a spoon, grab a fork, wooden spoon, fork, grab some pots and pans, get on a table. If you got a drum set, get on your drum set. All right? Let's start off with a beat. You know how we do. So let's put it in 4/4. Let's go somewhere maybe, I have no idea how this is going to sound. I just put this together. Honestly, let's see what happens. 1, 2, ready right here. Not bad. Not bad. What do you think? Leave me a comment and let me know. Okay? Say, Greg, I prefer the pots and pans over the drum set. Anyway, today's lesson is understanding sheet music as it relates to drums. So I'm not sure how many beginners I have or how many advanced people I have watching this video, but drummers are musicians. I don't care what anybody tells you. There are a lot of drummer jokes out there. I mean, I've heard tons of them. I think my favorite one is, how can you tell if the drum riser is level? Because when the drummer is playing, he's drooling out of both sides of his mouth. Yeah, right. See, I always want to make it like drummers. The Muppet. What was the drummer's name on the Muppet Show? Animal. Exactly. Well, drummers are musicians too, especially if you start to get into mallets and like timpani work or xylophone or marimba. So today's lesson is just going to be an introduction to music, like what to see, sheet music, staff, the line, the spaces. We won't get too heavy on it, but you should understand at least what it is. So if you know about music, there's the high stuff. That's kind of high. And the low stuff. Okay? So anything high is going to be in the 5 groups of lines at the top of the music. And that high stuff is going to be in the treble area. Yeah? Treble. T-R-E, treble. Look it up. And the low stuff is going to be in the bass area, right? B-A-S, look it up. All right? Give you guys some stuff to do. All right. So right now, this, you like my hand drawing? Not bad. I mean, I used the book for the lines to make sure I could stay straight with the lines, but if you notice, this is a bar, a measure, one bar. Beginning line, ending line of the bar, right? This little crazy thing here is called a treble clef. If you see this, you know that you're in the treble clef area, the treble area, the area where the higher music is going to be placed or played. All right? Now, again, I'm not getting too technical. I was told to keep these fun and educational, but at the same time, don't get too brainiac. So we're going to, like I said, treble is the high area, bass is the low area. We're talking about the treble area. And if you notice, you have how many lines? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines, exactly. And how many spaces do you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 spaces. 5 lines and 4 spaces. Cool? Now, this, put this on my pot, is the bass area, or this symbol here is the bass clef. All right? This is where the lower stuff is going to be when you look at music. And you'll notice that the bass clef also has how many lines? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And you'll notice that it also has 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. They're very similar. And when you look at these guys, I think you can see them. Treble clef, bass clef. And on the music, it would look something like this. All right? Cool. This is where your high stuff is going to be. This is where your low stuff is going to be. Treble clef. Treble clef is where the high stuff is. Bass clef is where the low stuff is. All right? Now, these guys have other names too, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's play something because I'm actually excited about this new setup. Are you using pots and pans, or are you using a drum set, or are you using a desk? Let me know. Send me a comment so I'll know what's going on out there. Okay? All right. So let's this pot has an interesting sound. Definitely high pitched. Definitely, if I were going to write some stuff for it, it would be some notes. If I were going to play some notes in this bar, for it, it would definitely be in the treble clef area. How about this one? Definitely high. Treble clef or bass clef? Yeah, definitely treble clef. Okay, now, even though that's kind of dull, and I kind of like that sound, it's pretty funky actually, but it's low compared to this guy. Bass clef, I think so. For the purposes of this lesson, that's high, that's low, that's low, that's high. Bass clef as well. And of course, the kick drum is going to be low, so that would be bass clef as well. So you see where we're going here? That's easy. That is so easy. Think of your stereo system. There are some stereo systems to adjust the high frequencies. They will say, well, you turn the treble up. Adjust the treble knob. If you wanted to adjust the low frequencies, they would say, yeah, add more bass or turn the bass down some. Just that simple. Just that easy. Let's do another beat again in 4/4. Do it with me. Use your spoons, use your drumsticks on your drum set, use your table. All right, but let's do it. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. I may have to record with this. Might be a new sound on a new record you may hear pretty soon. You say you heard it first here. Okay, Cloth Cat Studio Video. Cool. Now, let's talk about how you could tell what notes are where in the treble clef. So, each line, each note would fall either on a line or in a space. On a line or in a space. That's how it works. Every line has its own name, or any note that falls on that line is a different note. Like you wouldn't put the same note here, would not be the same note here, and would not be the same note here. Each one is going to be different. So when I was taking piano, to help me remember what notes in the treble clef were on the line, I would say, every good boy does fine. That means that this is the E, the note. If there was a note on that line, or with that line going through it, that means on the line, that was an E. Every good, this is the G, boy, this is the B, does, this is the D, fine, that's the F. Every good boy does fine. I hope my fingers, yeah, it's pretty much falling in the right place. Now, different people use different acronyms to remember the notes. I've heard every good boy deserves fudge. Same thing. Every E, good G, boy, B, deserves D, fudge. But for me, every good boy does fine felt more rhythmic. And for the rest of my acronyms, I would stay in that good boy theme. It just made it easier for me to remember. Can you say it? Repeat it after? Let's use mine. If you want to do fudge, feel free. But let's use mine for now. Every, good, boy, yep, does, yep, fine. Now, when I read it, you tell me the note that is associated with this line. Every is which note? E, good. Good, G. Boy, does, or deserves, same letter. Fine, F, or fudge, F. Good job, good job. All right. Now, 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 spaces. So my acronym for the spaces are what I was taught. Any note that falls in this first space, in the treble clef, in the treble area, because this is our treble clef, that little backwards looking G thing. This space is the F. This space is the A. This space is the C, and this space is the E. F-A-C-E. What does that spell? I wonder what that spells. That's right, face. Good job. That's an easy one to remember. Any note in this space is an F. Any note in this space is an A. Any note in this space is a C. Any note in this space is an E. F-A-C-E. Face. The lines, every good boy does fine. In the space, F-A-C-E, face. Treble clef. Treble clef. Every good boy does fine. F-A-C-E, space. Every good boy does fine. F-A-C-E, space. Woo! Space, face. F-A-C-E, face. But 4 spaces. You know what I meant. Come on, this is live. I told you if I make a mistake, I'm just going to correct it. I'm not going to edit it out. I will never do that. That's just not fair. Now, for that purpose, I think we deserve to play before we go to the bass class. Let's play something. Since we talked about time signatures the last lesson, let's play something in 3/4, right? Now, I didn't go over anything before I started because I know you remember that the top number always tells you exactly, tells you how many beats are in the measure. The bottom number tells you which note is equal to the beat or gets 1 beat. If we're going to play in 3/4, there are 3 beats in the measure, and the 4, which represents the quarter note, is equal to the beat or gets 1 beat. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Kind of funky. I hope you caught on to that beat. You know, with these sounds, I don't know, for some reason it sounds, I'm imagining in my brain some robot band, you know, with the spring necks moving. Boing, you know, the eyes popping out. Anyway, I have a very vivid imagination, I've been told, but I think that's where your fun comes from, your imagination. Anyway, let's move on. What clef is this? This is the bass, right? The other one was treble clef, where the high stuff was in music or is in music, or if it's ever written in music, most of the stuff up there is going to be higher. Stuff down here is going to be lower because it's the bass clef. Yeah? All righty. Now, if you notice, you have the same number of lines and you have the same amount of spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. And you notice this bass clef thing kind of looks, I don't know, like a weird C or, don't know, upside down 6 that wasn't finished drawn, but it's like this. And this has another name as well, but we will talk about that later. All right, now in the bass clef, the lines are the acronym that I like to use. My music teacher gave me one, that great big dogs fight animals. Great big dogs fight animals. But for me, that was kind of violent. Plus, it just gave me more stuff to try to remember because in my Treble Clef, it was every good boy does fine. Every good boy does fine. So for me, I just tried to tie in the good boy theme to help me remember it. And I know that the English is not proper. And look, I'm talking to you, right? But for me, it helped me to think, right? Good boy does fine always. That helped me because it kept me in the same theme. Treble Clef, every good boy does fine. And if every good boy does fine, then good boys does fine always. I didn't want to say good boy do fine or not. So good boy does fine always. That works better for me. But the point is, whatever helps you to remember that good is going to be the G on this line, boy is going to be the B on this line, D for does, good boy does, fine, F on this line, and A on this line. Good boy does fine always. Great big dogs fight animals, or anything you want to come up with. But the key thing is just to help you remember what note is affiliated with that line. Now, 4 spaces, just like in the treble clef, but we're in the bass clef because of this guy. And that's where the lower notes are. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I was taught all cows eat grass, which is cool. All for A in this space. The note would be A in this space. Cows, C, right? Eat. E, grass. Very good. G. All cows eat grass. Now, now we'll stick with all cows eat grass. I think that's easier. So, every good boy does fine. All cows eat grass, right? Great big dogs fight animals. All cows eat grass, right? I'm sorry, I messed up. Good boy does fine always. Sorry. Too many acronyms here. Let me start over again. It's my vibra slap. Anytime I mess up and I can remember to use it, I'm going to use it. All right. Good boy does fine always. Bass clef, good boy does fine always. Great big dogs fight animals. Good boy does fine always. The one I made the mistake on was the treble clef. Forgive me, right? Don't send me comments. I know I messed up. Good. Send me a comment and say, Greg, you messed up. Smiley face. Ha, ha, ha. It's cool. Good boy does fine always. Great big dogs fight animals. Cool? All cows eat grass. That one's easy. And in the treble clef, you know it's F-A-C-E, face. All right. Now, we're going to leave that alone. And we will take a look. This is how it will look. Bam! See that? On a sheet of music. See how I did that? You see how I made the little notation, guys, here? You see you got the treble clef, or that's right, you noticed that. Or it can be the G clef. because see how it curves around this line, and that line is the G. Every good, that's the G. So it's the treble clef or the G clef. You see the bass clef or the F. Good boy does fine. Good boy does fine always. Very good. You see here you got the all cows eat grass. Forget about that B for now. I was going to go into legend lines, but I don't want to go there. But sitting on that line would be a B, but forget that. All right? All cows eat grass. FACE in the space. Every good boy does fine. Good boy does fine. Always. Great big dogs fight animals. This is called a staff. These guys put together. Treble clef, bass clef put together is called a staff. All right? That's what you would see when you look at some music. I'm not going too fast, am I? All right. And we have how many bars here? 1, 2, or measures. 1, 2. See this line? It separates them. This is one measure. This is the other measure. This is one measure. This is the other measure. Now, let me get my Sharpie to show you what I mean. Put my spoon and my fork down. And I'm showing you this because you should learn how to read. Learning how to read is going to make you a better musician. And with what we're learning in these drum lessons, even if you, I don't know if I said this before, but even if you play piano or guitar or anything with notes on it, you're working on the rhythms. Even if you don't know the notes yet, you will know the rhythms. The 8th note, the 16th notes, you will know how they sound. You will know that in 4/4, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, you know this is a quarter note. You know this is the 8th note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know this would be a 16th note. Right? Cool. Now, what I'm showing you is, let's say you go further and you want to play mallets or something like timpanis or marimbas, then that's when you'll need to know about the treble clef and the bass clef, and you'll need to know about keys. I won't get into key signatures, but you need to know the lines and what notes. For instance, stay with me, don't fall. I knew this music was going to do this. Here we go. For instance, if there is a note here, what note is that? It's got that line going through it. What is it? That's right. Every. It's an E. Every good boy does fine. Every good boy does fine. If the note is like that, that's a what? Every good, that's a G. Exactly. Lines going through it. Every good boy does fine. So if I put a note here like that, what note is that? And we're in the treble clef, right? Different acronyms. Every good boy does. That note is D. Very good. Very good. If I put a note here in the space, and the acronym is in the space, this is face, F-A-C-E. That's an F. If the note is here, that's an A. If it's here, that's a C, and here is an E. F-A-C-E space. Every good boy does fine. Every good boy does fine. Okay, I'm going to hold this up for a second just so you can see it, or you can always go back and pause it We can pause it now. Cool. All right, you got it. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, bass clef, where the low notes are. Put my spoon and my fork down. Where the low notes are located. The spaces are what? All cows eat grass. All cows eat grass. So if there's a note in here, that's the A. If there's a note in that space here, that's a G. And these will be darkened. You know, they'll be shaded in like that. I'm just doing it really quick. What did we say the lines were? Come on, you got it. You got it. Uh-huh. Good boy does fine always. Or great big dogs fight animals. Good boy does fine always. Or great big dogs fight animals, or anything you want to make up. Giant bears dig French fried apples. Whatever works for you, as long as you can remember that. If there's a note on that line like that, that would be the G in the bass clef. And again, it would be circled in or colored in like that. All right? And if there's a D in the bass clef, it would be on that line. You got it? Cool. I know you do. Fantastic. Let's play something else, and then we're going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to give you some examples of what drum music looks like. I'm just going to kind of go for it. I'm going to try to make some stuff up. So let's see what happens. I'll do it here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Throw money, please. All right. So these are some examples of drum music. Yeah. Now, what I want to show you in these examples is, even though I told you about the bass clef and the treble clef and the staff and how it looks with, you know, the treble clef up here, or the G clef and the bass clef, or the F clef. In some of these examples of drum music, for instance, we won't really talk about the notes as much as we'll talk about the examples. What clef do you see here? Aha, I'm turning this over. None. Sometimes some drum music will not show you whether it's in the treble clef or the bass clef, because for the purposes of some music, it doesn't really matter. And if you notice, they just have a line at the top and a line at the bottom. And if you'll see these little, if you can see, that's an X, which an X will mean a cymbal or a hi-hat, maybe a hi-hat pedal. And you'll see how the note falls here, and it's showing you that these notes are played together, and that's an 8th note because of the one flag. And this second note is a 16th note because it has 2 flags. See that little half a flag there? That counts as a flag, and then that bar line that crosses over. But we're looking at the staffs, and you'll see that there's none. There's no treble clef or bass clef there. So doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just the way that some drum music is written. We put that here for now. So let's look at this guy really quick. Now, if you notice here, that's right. That is right. That's the treble clef. And you'll see that it has a time signature here. I'll turn it around, make sure I don't mess it up. 2/4. 2/4 tells you what? Very good. Fantastic. 2 beats are in a measure. You see our measures here, and the quarter note is equal to the beat or gets a beat. So you see this first measure has, and this is rudimental stuff, like marching band, military stuff. This has eighth notes, but that little tie makes this a flam. That's a rudiment, and we will get into rudiments in this series. You see your 16th notes here, but the flams in front. You see, this is what a roll looks like. And if you notice, it's a, what kind of half note, because it's 2 beats, but it's taking up that whole measure. And this tie, that line that's connecting it, means that you don't stop. You don't go 1, 2, 1, 2. It means you go 1, 2, 1, 2, and you tie it over into this next note. But that's not what we want to really talk about. I just want you to see that this one actually has the treble clef, whereas this had nothing as far as clefs are concerned. So what does that tell you? Sometimes drum music can have no treble clef or bass clef. Sometimes they can have the treble clef. Okay? Let's see what this next example is going to show us. What clef is that? Wow. That's right. The bass clef. So, what we've learned is that some drum music may not have any clefs at all, or it may be written all in treble clef, or it may be written all in bass clef. The thing to remember is the focus primarily, if you're just playing drums, is going to be on the rhythm or the beat. If you're playing marimba, xylophone, timpani, then yes, it does matter, and it will have key signatures, and the notes will be on the lines. Every good boy does fine. All cows eat grass if it's in the space, okay, in the bass clef. But for the purpose of just drums, they're more concerned about the rhythm, and there will be some music where the snare might be in a certain space and the bass drum will be at the bottom. But most of the time for this, that's going to be whatever the snare is, and this is going to be the bass drum. And if you notice, the time signature is the letter C, which stands for 4/4 time, which is common time. In music, 4/4 is common. That's why I've been teaching in 4/4, because that's the common, most basic time signature. Most things, a lot of things are in 4/4. So if you see the letter C, and it's just the letter C with no lines going through it, that means common time. Common time is 4/4. And these are all quarter notes. You can read this right now, right? Check this out. You see that rest right here that's sitting on top of the line? That's the half note rest. And I'm looking at this backwards, but if we were counting this, 1, 2, ready, go, it would be rest, 2, then 3, 4, then rest, 2, then 3, 4, then rest, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4. These are my bass drums. These are my quarter notes, right? Check it out. 1, 2, this line right here. Do it with me. Bass drum is going to keep the quarter note. Whatever you want to hit is going to be this top line. Line number 3. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exactly what we talked about. If you notice here, you have the half note rest because it's sitting up. You have A quarter note rests because it's got that little squiggly line right there. And then you have a quarter note. Line 4. Let's read that real quick and then we'll move on because I know you can do it in 4/4. And I'm doing it backwards here. Yep, but it is. Gotcha. Here we go. 1, 2. Bass drum is your quarter note. Whatever you want to hit, we'll read this top line. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. All right? You just read some drum music. Give yourselves a round of applause for doing that. Well, man, read some drum music. Yeah, woo. Okay, fantastic. So, to help you remember this, what I like to do, as you can see, I like to come up with beats. I like to come up with rhymes and put things together. Like, let's see. Treble Clef line is, every good boy does fine, right? And if we were going to see that in a rhythm, it would look like this. 2 16th notes, 1 E and 2 and 3, 4. 1 E and 2 and 3, 4. 16th note. Every good boy does fine. Rest. In 4/4. 1, 2, ready, begin. Every good boy does fine. This is my space for Treble Clef. F-A-C-E, face, right? F-A-C-E, face. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. You can come up with stuff like that. Every good boy does fine. Rest. F-A-C-E, face. Mix up the rhythms with the acronyms to help you remember what's going on. And just play them out. Play them out. Have fun with them. Let's turn the metronome on. Let's just have some fun with this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's slow it down some.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right there, I guess.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Every good boy does fine.
4.
F-A-C-E, face. Every good boy does fine.
4.
F-A-C-E, face. Every good boy does fine.
4.
F-A-C-E, face. Every good boy does fine.
4.
F-A-C-E,
3, 4.
face.
1.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure you can sing better than I can. That's Treble Clef. Let's make up something for the bass clef now. And what did I say the acronyms were for the bass clef? I said good boy does fine always, which makes it easier for me. Good boy does fine always. All eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Right? Eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Good boy does fine always. Or great big dogs fight animals. That's the 16th notes at the end of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4. So pick whichever one you want. Good boy does fine always. Great big dogs fight animals. Whatever it's going to take to help you remember those acronyms. All right. Rewind this. Go back to the beginning if you don't remember. And the space for the bass clef was what? All cows eat grass. Moo. All cows eat grass. Moo. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. That's the same as the other one. Eighth notes. 1 and 2 and then half note. So that's all we're going to talk about right now as far as reading music as it relates to drum music. That's a very beginning beginning explanation. I hope it helps. I hope it wasn't confusing. Leave me comments, okay? Tell me what you thought. Tell me if you enjoyed my pots and pans and book and bucket drum set. And I'm hoping that you just one more time, I'll hold it up so you can take another look. Just kind of understand now what you're looking at whenever you see this. Treble clef, high stuff, bass clef, low stuff. The notes that are in the space in the treble clef, the notes that are on the line, notes that are in the bass clef. Don't worry about that B right now. Go with all cows eat grass. And good boy does fine always, or great big dogs fight animals. All righty, cool. All right. So, no, don't talk to me. All right, here we go. Last thing going out, Cloth Cat Studio is the place you want to go if you want to learn how to play anything. Cloth Cat Studio is the place you want to go if you want to learn how to play anything. Cloth Cat Studio. Viber slap. This is what this is called. You know, one of these lessons, I'm just going to show you some percussion names, some percussion instruments, and give you the names for them. Have a great day. See you next Thursday, 4 p.m. UK time, 11 a.m. US time. Stay safe. Be good. And thanks for joining me. Take care.